Hello and welcome to Under Center with Jake Russell. I'm your host, Collin Sheffield. Alongside me is head coach Jake Russell. Coach Russell, the Tigers come away with a big 34-31 victory over the number 7 team in the nation, and Lindsey Wilson finally get right back on the other side of that rivalry. You finally get the monkey off the back. It's been a decade since the Tigers were able to defeat Lindsey Wilson. You take it back to your days. That's the last win when you were quarterbacking. You had 300-plus yards, led the team in rushing with 73 rush yards that game, and that was the last win that this Tiger team has had over Lindsey Wilson. You got a big 34-31 victory at home. You bring it back over a number 7 team that's a very, very good team that's been really running a lot of the top 10 teams and top 15 teams in the NAIA away. And you all were able to stick in there, get a big victory, and get that monkey off the back.
Yeah, I mentioned it's been 10 years. There's a few of us, myself, Coach Brown, Coach Atwood, that, we're kind of a part of both in some form or fashion. And it's kind of joking with the guys. They were like, you got to hold the trophy, you got to hold the trophy. And I said, well, I'm one of the few people that have held this before, so you guys hold it. It was really cool to see the players. It was funny because it's probably been so long, and then, it's my first time winning it here as a coach. We really didn't know what to do after the game. Like, I think we were supposed to be over there as part of the kind of trophy presentation, and, we were doing what we usually do post-game with the band, and luckily I think Trey and a couple other guys got it and ran it down, and it was a cool moment. It's a great rivalry, and hopefully it continues to where both teams are really, really good every year, and that just makes it fun. I was, telling Jamie on radio that it's one of the few times in a college sport, especially football, where you get both crowds that are really invested into the game. So you could hear and feel the Lindsey Wilson crowd at times in the game. You could hear and definitely feel, the Campbellsville crowd at times in the game. And that's what a rivalry is supposed to be. And then there's just really good football. I think those are two of the best teams in the nation. I had told a couple of guys on their side that I know, I said, let's try to play again this year. I think that'd be really cool, unfortunately because of the regional side of things, but it's still possible. It may not be in the national championship because I think both teams are maybe capable of that. But they're a really good football team. They played well. They found a way to get back in the game, which great teams do, and give themselves a puncher's chance there at the very end. And on our side, obviously, we got to find a way to go ahead and kind of separate and finish the game a little earlier. But, just credit to our guys and credit to both teams of just getting to this point in the season, playing at that level.
Several of the guys around the league that talk a lot of NAIA football at the national level, talking about the scheming between these two offenses in this game, talking about how well it seemed like Tate Rice, he was really throwing that ball with conviction down the field, made a few good plays, as well as their receivers going up and getting some major ones. But the Tiger offense right there with them, step for step, stride for stride, and pulling a lot of wrinkles out that we hadn't seen before. The quad look was different than what we've seen before. It kind of talked to me a little bit maybe about in that you get to conference play, you're trying to throw in some new wrinkles there, maybe something that they haven't seen on film yet.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest challenges as a play caller is not to put too much in, but I had a quarterback tell me probably 3 years ago, I kind of set the quarterbacks down and said, guys, do you guys feel like this is too much? Do we want to? And they said, no, that's what makes it fun. And I think there's a big part to that. I think when you're doing things like that, when you're mixing it up, if you can execute them, it gives you a big advantage because they're not able to prepare and work scout team-wise and show exactly what it's going to be. Now, there's also a risk involved. If you put in too much and you can't run any of them right, then you're wasting a lot of plays. And just credit to our players and the assistant coaches. Like, those are the guys that have to get it first, convince themselves, as crazy as some of them sound, and say, okay, I'm taking this into my position room, I'm taking this into our drills and our practices, and we're going to hammer this until we can get it right. And, some of the things we put in for the game worked, exactly like we envisioned, and were big plays in the game. And as always, some of them didn't work and didn't go as planned. And, that's always part of football. And at the end of the day, it's can your players buy in and execute it and then actually make the play. And it was a really good football game. It was pretty clean. There wasn't too many turnovers. There wasn't a lot of penalties. The kicking, the special teams were good, and then you just saw some great individual plays from both sides, and that's what makes it fun. But yeah, the play calling is always fun. Like we like to put the wrinkles in there. I think it keeps the guys energized and focused. It also allows us to get a lot of different guys involved. I mean, you see, we call him one way, but Ja'Shawn Pritchard, number 17, that's a guy who has all the ability in the world. He's just, true freshman, and he's playing behind some really good guys. And with the, game, trying to clinch the game, saying on the line, but trying to clinch the game with the go-ahead touchdown, all the confidence in the world to throw him the ball, and he makes a huge play. And everybody else on that play executes really well, which is what led to that.
A little bit of a scare there towards the end. Fumble right there as Trey's just trying to make the extra effort. Things like that happen when you have physical backs trying to make a play. That ball gets popped out. Then our cellist gets one popped out on him, and you're starting to feel, you're like, oh man, this tide might be turning. But the defense did such a great job several times throughout the game, really settling it down, stemming the tide, and making 4th and 1 stops. They were making interceptions when they really needed to. They were moving and flying around the field.
Yeah, 2 4th down stops, one very early and then one very late in the game. Obviously mentioned the 2 interceptions. And then there was a huge thing early in the game where I think they got the ball down inside the 5, and we were able to hold them to a field goal. And that ended up being big later in the game, right? Us making 2 pretty long field goals. Collin has just had the most underrated, awesome year. Just quietly, I don't think has missed a kick outside of maybe a hold or a snap or something here and there. Alleen, just unbelievable year, man. Like seriously, if he's not, All-American consideration, then it's just something's wrong, because he's a weapon. And and then trying to put the pressure on their special teams, right? We were able to do some things there, and they really are probably one of, not the best return teams in the nation, right there with us. And they had the 1 punt return to start the game that was kind of their biggest. And I think that's when we got our 4th down stop possibly. So that was really good by our defense. But yeah, the defense just keeps responding. And then when the offense needs to go and score, and that's what I've really liked about this year's team, is it feels like everybody's feeding off each other. I was just telling the coaches, I feel like the defense is more invested when the offense is on the field. I feel like the offense is more invested when the defense is on the field than we've had here so far. And that can go a long way for a team.
And these now this team is moving into, they're deeper into conference play. You're going to start to hear a lot of things. The noise is going to start to get a little bit louder, right? You're now number 6 in the nation. You've moved up in the poll, and that starts to get a little bit louder. Mid-South Conference, you can control your own destiny here. Georgetown, Lindsey Wilson, they've got their losses. You can win out and win a Mid-South Conference championship. This team seems to have done a really good job at blocking out a lot of that noise and really just holding on to and staying focused and locked in.
We will see this week, right? I told the guys after the game, everybody's going to pat you on the back. Everybody's going to text you. Everybody's going to tell you how great you are. You've earned that. We were 6-0 at this point last year. We finished 3-2. I told the guys there's kind of 2 options here. In 4 weeks, we can finish this thing, let's say 2-2, and we're sitting there just like last year trying to convince everybody in the country we deserve to be in the playoffs. Please put us in. Please put us in. Or you can go and execute one day at a time, and we can be talking about who we're playing in the first round and all the different possible fun scenarios that come with the playoffs, and then you start coast to coast thinking, and all of that's on the table, right? But also all the other things are on the table, because every team in our conference and every team we play, and I know we'll get into Cumberland, Tennessee, they're a perfect example. They are plenty good enough to beat you. They are better than their record. They are just such a solid football team. And then the team next week is going to be the same thing. And then the next team, right? And every team, what I told our team after the game is every team sees you as that opportunity now. Cumberland still has a chance that if they ran the table, beat us, get a big top 10 win, they can start to have the hopes of those things, right? You may go play Georgetown the last game of the year, and they're 7-2, and you're 9-0, and they say, man, if we can get this win, we have a great playoff resume. Bethel right now is ranked, right? So there's so many things on the table. Faulkner is playing really well. Their program's improving really fast. Their new head coach is looking for a big signature win to get their recruiting and everything booming. So it's such a dangerous conference. I told you right before we got on here, I turned on Cumberland's film, and about 10 plays in, I was like, man, gosh, they're really good. Can we not just get a little bit of a relief for a half or a week, and no, in our conference you cannot. But that's why we love it. The competition, it keeps you focused, it keeps you on your toes. And I'm really excited to see if our team does have that championship resolve, that they won't let the patting on the back and the success really, make them complacent.
Well, we'll let you step away and take a quick break. When we come back, we'll sit down with Coach Lane here on Under Center with Jake Russell.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, but with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. And you can change the outcome. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome back to Under Center with Jake Russell. I'm your host, Collin Sheffield. Alongside me is offensive line coach Chris Lane. Coach Lane, this Tiger offensive line has been a key factor. You know, you could talk about how good Trey and Archelaus and all of them have been, and that is very true. Not taking anything away from those guys, but a lot of it also stems from the offensive line. I feel like sometimes those big guys don't get enough flowers. We try to give it to them as much as we can and shout them out on the stream whenever we can really pick it out and see it. But they're getting a lot of push up front and creating a lot of big holes for Bass, Archelaus, and all of them to hit and run through.
Yeah, absolutely. They played really well this year, and we're old and experienced up front. At least with the first 5 that are in there the majority of the time. And we've played a bunch of different guys too, you know. Started the year with a true freshman at left tackle, and then rotate some guys in at the guard position. So across the board as a room, they've done a great job just embracing being physical and assignment sound, and giving Trey and the running back room room to work. So
it's also got to feel pretty good for a transfer quarterback coming in for the first time, and you're trying to learn an offense, and that's kind of hard to do if you're getting knocked around every 5 seconds and scrambling for your life. He hasn't had to do that very much. Every once in a while, obviously pressure comes or an assignment is missed, and he's got to do that. He can, but he's been able to really stay in the pocket. He's had time to make the decisions and make really good throws down the field, and that's a great pocket formed.
Yeah, absolutely. Pass pros looked really well. I think we've given up a couple sacks in the last few games, and that's naturally going to happen with some of our passing concepts. But, just being assignment sound, each one of them doing their job and working as 5, as 1. Super important communication pre and post snap, just talking about what they see out there, and then when we get to the sideline, evaluating anything that went wrong, and then cleaning up as it goes so it doesn't hit again. But that's the benefits of having an older room, and they're really calm, but also extremely violent when they need to be, so yeah. It's a good group to have.
How tough is it to maybe coach these guys up through such a RPO heavy offense that they don't really necessarily know what's going on behind them? They're trying to make their assignments. Yeah. Did he keep the ball? Did he hand it off? What's the deal? How hard is it to coach them through such a RPO offense?
Yeah, we the approach we've took this year and last year, and you kind of see the fruits of it this year, but is just we're blocking for the run, and our mindset is run first. Now, if the ball's pulled and thrown, then we're chasing the ball down just in case we can get some third level blocks and turn a 10-yard, 15-yard completion into a 25, 30 by just being down there. It is a difficult offense to coach offensive line in because of what you said. You don't really know where the ball is going, but it's also extremely fun. And the guys have really embraced it this year, just working through kind of the complexity of the scheme.
And I can tell you too, talk about some athletes. These are some big fellas on the offensive line, and you guys are pulling them out, and they're headed out and lead blocking, 10, 15, 20 yards down the field, maintaining and holding the block. And they're not holding either. There's not that many flags for holding, at least this year. I feel like last year or some years prior, when you see those holes open up or the blocking downfield, you kind of hold your breath and you look back around for the yellow on the field. And now I feel like this year I'm having to try to treat myself to say, look, these guys are just doing it right, and they're coached well, and they're playing very well.
Yeah. When we pull, we talk about sprinting off the ball. We should be running full speed. And then when we get to that second, third level, just settling down and getting a piece. Doesn't have to be, a pancake block or a kill shot all the time. Just get a piece, be in the way, and let, those talented, more athletic guys use us to do what they do. So,
obviously a very successful season so far. What's been one of your favorite things so far throughout this season?
Really just the room. I love being with these guys. I'm with them a lot, from in the weight room and practice and meeting rooms, and just the camaraderie around in our room and then on our staff. It never feels like coming to work. And it just feels like hanging out with your family almost. So it's been a blessing just being here and being around the program and being able to coach such amazing character guys and that give you great effort all the time.
Coach, we appreciate you stopping by. Have a great week. I can't wait to see you in Lebanon.
Awesome. Yeah, we're excited. It's going to be a fun one.
We'll be right back here on Under Center with Jake Russell.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. So if you want to talk to your kids, you have to get it trending.
No, you're doing it wrong.
Let's go.
Can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
Welcome back to Under Center with Jake Russell. I'm your host, Collin Sheffield. With me for the final segment is head coach Jake Russell. Coach, the Tigers have Cumberland, Tennessee. We were talking about just how good this team really is. The record may not, initially jump out to you and reflect that, but they certainly are a good team, a dangerous team. This is a homecoming game for them as well, so there's a little bit more on the line. Everybody's a little more amped up for them. You talk about now number 6 walking in undefeated in the Mid-South Conference. You're coming off a big win. There's a lot headed down the road, and I know there's no perfect maybe recipe for curing what could be a win hangover, right? But what do you do to maybe try to push your team in the correct direction this week moving forward?
Yeah, I think normalcy. I think routine. I think And I think we did a great job with this last week. And, I told the coaches at the beginning of the week, if you go in and say, hey, this is just another game. Hey, this is just another week. Don't play the name, play the game. Like, this not any different because it's Lindsey Wilson. I said, then they're going to know that you feel like it's different. Mm-hmm. And so it'll be the same thing this week, right? If we go in all week and say, we can't be complacent. We can't have the win hangover, as you say. We can't have all these things. Well, they're naturally going to say, oh, are we having these things? And, we got to do something different. While we're always trying to, change and find little ways to get better, right? We feel like we've got a great week-to-week routine that our guys are comfortable with, and we want to make them uncomfortable in ways throughout the week and keep pushing them to find ways to get better. But yeah, any team that's got a dream of winning a championship and a realistic shot, like, these are the big weeks, right? Mm-hmm. These weeks coming up, the heart of the conference, where everybody in our conference is good, right? The teams that were not as good over the last few years, just like us, have gotten better. The really good teams have stayed really good. Cumberland, Tennessee is a team that's had some really good wins, and they played good competition, right? Yeah. They played one of the best FCS teams in the nation. And while they didn't win, that being out on the field and that competition, it helps you get better, right? Competition breeds greatness, and so they've had a really tough schedule, one of the toughest in the nation, and they're prepared. Their coaches always do a really good job. They've been around for a while. They understand the conference, the challenges. And then, as you mentioned, it's travel for the first time in 7 weeks. Yeah. We've been in Campbellsville for 6 weeks in a row. What a blessing, right? And now 2 weeks in a row, we've got a single-day travel. And then coming up, we've got our longest conference travel, which will be an overnight. And there's always going to be challenges, as you mentioned. And every week, if you go in and try to play up these challenges and all these things, I think it can get your guys in a different mindset, where if it's just, hey, on Monday we do this and attack it this way, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all these things, that'll be the big thing for us to stay consistent over the course of the last four weeks.
Cumberland, Tennessee's dual threat quarterback from last year's season ago, mm-hmm. He is not there anymore. This is a new quarterback, a different team. Things can get changed up a little bit when there's a new quarterback in the offense. What makes this Cumberland, Tennessee team so dangerous, looking at the film at least early on?
Well, they're very physical. They run the ball really well. They have an identity. I think when you go up against a team, and our conference is really good at having identities within the teams. You see a team and it's like, well, they're really not a certain way defense. They're kind of sporadic offense, whatever it is. Like, they don't have that identity. That's kind of when you get excited. Like, we can really, pound this team and have a dominant victory. But when you play teams that have identity, which Cumberland, Tennessee does, right? We're going to run the ball really well. We're going to be physical. We're going to challenge you to stop the run, right? And then defensively, we're going to, bring a lot of pressure. We're going to simulate pressure. We're going to be very physical on that side of the ball, stop your run, challenge you to beat us in the passing game, in man-to-man, and a lot of different aggressive scenarios. That's very dangerous, right? And again, they can, just like last year, right? We both came into the game, and it was a great game last year, but it was a slugfest last year, right? It was a struggle for us offensively. They did a really good job defensively. They moved the ball pretty well all game, right? And they played clean football. Like, this is one where you can't go and now have 3 or 4 turnovers and expect to win. You can't be sloppy on special teams. Go back to one thing we've struggled with, a lot of penalties, right? I was very proud of our guys this week. And you got to play clean football in all 3 phases of the game to give yourself a good opportunity to win, because they're not going to beat themselves.
And I would talk about the quarterback play here. Jet Engel has looked fantastic moving throughout the time. Just look back to the St. Francis game, he still played pretty well, but those early on mistakes were occurring, and then same thing as we moved down the line, and now he's really kind of stepped into his own, looked like he's really grasping the concept of the offense, that he's finding his targets exactly when he needs to. Of course, you have great backs like Trey Bass, Archella Smith. You go down the line, you got about 4, 5, 6 of them that you can hand the ball off to and feel very comfortable with it, but he's been able to really settle in and look like his decision-making capacity within this offense has flipped a switch here, moving towards the middle of conference play.
Yeah, Jet's doing a great job. He's done a great job of leading the offense. I tell him all the time, when you hear some analyst on a show or an announcer during a game talk about he's a game manager, like, that's the ultimate compliment to me as a quarterback. And I always tell our guys, be an elite game manager, right? That's the number one goal. our offense is unique in a lot of ways, right? There's a lot of pressure on the quarterback to be an unbelievable decision maker, to run the show. It's not a simple offense for the QB, and he's done a really good job of that. And he's also went from, the first few games of learning how to operate within this offense. When do I be aggressive? Where is my check down, my hot? What is the decision in these scenarios? So I'm limiting turnovers. 1 turnover in the last 4 games. That's been the difference, right? He made the big throws. He made some really great plays in the first couple games, but now over the last 4, right, it's taking care of the football. It's managing the chaos that comes with football week to week. A team that plays all zone and doesn't bring a lot of pressure. Then Lindsey Wilson, who plays a ton of man. Carmel, Tennessee, who brings a ton of pressure, plays some zone, plays some man, does some very unique things, and understanding what we want to do, play from play, and even the situational stuff throughout the game. So that's what I've been most proud of. And like I said, he's a guy that when you tell him something, he takes it and he gets better at it, which is a huge thing.
Coach, appreciate the time. Look forward to seeing you down in Lebanon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
The Tigers are on the road this week for the first time in 7 weeks. They're back out to Lebanon, Tennessee. They'll take on Cumberland University Phoenix in their homecoming game. That one in Lebanon at 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 Central. You can tune in to 88.7 The Tiger or on the TuneIn app. Just look up WLCU, and myself and Khalil Baker will be on the call for that one. And as always, tune in next week to Under Center with Jake Russell.